Hey y'all, welcome back. I am Key, and I turned 40 a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I would feel older, but instead I feel wiser and more clear. And I was talking to my sister on the phone, wishing her a happy birthday this past April, and she turned 30. And she was saying, sis, 30 years old feels so serious. I feel like I've been kicked out of the Playboy mansion. She also told me that there is more than piss in the dating pool. I'm married, so I don't know anything about that, but comment down below if you think there is piss in the dating pool. I was telling her on the phone that I feel more wiser, not because I read a bunch of self help books, but life kept humbling me. And no matter what life threw at me, I just knew what to do and kept trusting myself. And our conversation led me to lessons that I learned in my 30s that I would love to share with you, no matter what your age is. I hope that some of the things that I learned have helped you. And if any of these lessons resonate with you, let me know below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. It was really hard to condense these lessons down into six, but these are the six lessons that stayed with me the most. The first lesson that I would tell anyone, no matter what your age is that trusting yourself really is a spiritual practice. I've spent most of my life looking for permission instead of checking in with myself. And I am claircognizant, which means clear knowing. And it took me a while to trust the clear knowing that I felt in my body, even if it didn't make any sense or even if it wasn't logical. So back in 2022, I chose to move across the nation into the desert. And it's something that I just knew was right for me, no matter what anyone else had to say. Trusting myself included not listening to anyone else. I've noticed that our parents and our guardians, they love us and they want the best for us. And sometimes they have this habit of handing us a blueprint that we didn't ask for. Trusting myself looked like throwing that blueprint out. Of course, when I moved across the country, it upset a lot of people, but I had to do what was best for me. Also, when it comes to trusting myself, I have been laid off more times than I would like to name. It's almost kind of embarrassing. And so, because I've gotten laid off so many times, it has forced me to become a serial entrepreneur. And being an entrepreneur is a spiritual practice in itself. Getting laid off so many times has made me follow my dreams. My next lesson that I learned in my 30s is that my body is my teacher. Now, this isn't new or profound, but it seems like the older I got, the more intention and care my body needed. So for me, that looked like adding a naturopathic doctor to the mix of my care team. I've also been advocating for myself more, especially as a Black woman at the doctor. So for me, that looks like requesting tests sooner than recommended. So I have a lot of family members that passed away of colon cancer. So for me, that looks like getting a colonoscopy now instead of waiting until I'm 50 years old. In my 30s, I thought about rest a lot. And I've realized that I did not have a good model of a Black woman or a Black man resting. My parents were hustlers back in the day, and they still are, and they only rested when they were sick. And in my 30s, I built in a lot of counteractive rest to help with my productivity. Before, I thought rest was a waste of time, and that's something that I am still working on. But rest is productive and has made a great impact in my 30s. Also, in my 30s, I learned that I hate the gym. I don't know how you all feel, but the gym does not work for me to work out. So, boxing really gets me going, or F45. I'm making important decisions all day and I don't want to think about a workout. So that's why boxing and F45 work out best for me. The next lesson that I learned in my 30s is that my parents are human. And I know this one is so obvious, but in my 30s, I really took a step back to get into therapy, go through my childhood traumas, and understand what has happened to me and why. And even have those hard conversations with my parents. Having these conversations with them wasn't to erase the past or rewrite the past, but really understand why certain things happened the way that they did. And also, a hard truth is that as I get older, my parents are getting older. And so I've been thinking a lot about how I want the rest of our time to look that we have together. I know tomorrow isn't promised and, we can be gone at any moment. But in my 30s, I've been really thinking about, do I want to spend the rest of my time on earth trying to prove that I was right or prove how I remember the story? Or do I just want to have that conversation with my parents to understand what happened and just move on? So, this has really helped me to be at peace with the way that I grew up and the choices that my parents made. The next lesson that I feel like someone needs to hear is that you cannot heal for someone else. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way in my 30s. So I spent a lot of time in therapy in my 30s. And because of that, therapy gave me a new language to things that I didn't understand. And so it's a whole new world. It's like I cleaned my glasses and now I can see. And I want everyone else to see. And so in my 30s, at times, I played unlicensed therapist and I wasn't trying to. I was really trying to help my friends and my loved ones. That really taught me that you can help someone, but you cannot heal for them, especially if they don't want to. You can name all the frameworks and read all the self help books and regurgitate what you see on social media, but that doesn't benefit you or the person that you are trying to help. And so it took me a while to realize that trying to do the work for someone else is not a sign of love. And because of that, I felt very resentful and energetically exhausted. And people would always come to me because they thought that I enjoyed playing therapist, and I don't. So I highly advise that you think about who in your life are you trying to therapize or do the work for. And this lesson really taught me that each and every person has their own spiritual curriculum, and that's work that they need to do on their own. The next lesson that was a hard pill to swallow for me is that loyalty should not cost you yourself. So in my 30s, I had two friendships that ended, and each of them were over 20 years. And that's something that I'm still grieving, to be honest with you. And the three of us, we all met in grade school, and we were like the three musketeers. You could not separate us. My friend and I noticed that with the other friend, that we had to walk on eggshells. We had to watch what we said and how we said it. It became very stressful and exhausting to be around this third friend. Once I finally spoke up, there were a lot of things that they just wanted to sweep under the rug. It was a toxic dynamic that I no longer wanted to be a part of. And there was a lot of grief in that. There were a lot of good times that we all had together. But I realized in letting that friendship go, it allowed room for spaciousness for the right relationships to come into my life. And I realized in my 30s that if I have to make myself small and if I cannot be my authentic self, then this is not the friendship for me. And the last lesson that I would love to share with you is that building a meaningful life takes time and intention. Social media has ruined this for a lot of people. I know a lot of us are comparing our lives to someone's highlight reel, and remember, you're only seeing a glimpse of their life. There's someone that I follow online that mentioned that it took her 25 years to be a millionaire and to live the life that she's living now. And that just made me take a sigh of relief, even at 40 years old. Comparing ourselves to other people makes us feel behind. When I think about a life that is meaningful for me, it's a life that feels most aligned for me. I'm thinking about, instead of what I want to do, I'm thinking about how I want to feel, what would make me feel most aligned. And that takes time and intention. I want to share something with you that I shared with my sister that even surprised me. My 20s were a bunch of research. My 30s consisted of applying that research. And now that I've crossed over to 40, now I have data. I don't know if that's going to make anyone out there feel better, that you don't have to have it all figured out right now. You don't have to measure your life against social media. I encourage you to measure your life around how you want to feel and what feels most meaningful for you. I also encourage you to think about the stories you are telling yourself when you are building a meaningful life. We tell ourselves stories such as, I will travel the world when I'm making six figures. I will start that business when I win the lottery. Or I will start that YouTube channel or write that book once life settles down. And when I was thinking about this over my 30s, there was no perfect time for this. There was no perfect time for me to record this video. Sometimes you just have to jump in and do it, and the rest will follow. And this really circles back to trusting yourself. And one more thing before I let you go. I know we've probably never met before, but I want you to know that I am rooting for you. I hope you take the time to really slow down and celebrate all the risks you've taken and think about where you were maybe even 5 to 10 years ago. You are not the same person. I also want to remind you that your life doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Key, and if you hit that subscribe button, I would love that. And in the comments, if you want to add below which lesson resonates with you, I'd love to read it. And also, if there are any lessons that you've learned along the way, feel free to share that with me as well. Okay, bye for now.